Like what size of impact could that have? Could this crash have on the global economy, and why is that being touted as a potential catalyst for an economic crash?
Yes. Evergrande is the first domino stone to fall. It's already fallen, but still not dead. We have to when it's dead, and we will do it. And the consequences are severe because um, all other real estate developer in China have.
Hello.
So back
Sorry.
again.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
have no idea what happened there. My entire internet connection just completely died for about 10 seconds. Nope.
So you have I don't know what maybe record where you asked the last question again. I will continue.
Yeah, that's no problem. So to the FBI agents listening in on this call, thanks for cutting the Wi-Fi. Or the NSA agents. It could be one of them.
Yeah. Even the Chinese.
yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry, that's probably even more likely to be who it is. So to the Chinese agents, or actually to the Chinese agents translators. So we. So what was the question? The question was, why is Evergrande so important, or why is Evergrande potentially a catalyst for an economic crash?
Yeah, Evergrande is only the top of the iceberg, and so the iceberg already hit the Titanic, and the Titanic is about to sink. Why? It's because Evergrande has consequences for the whole Chinese real estate developer market, and also other big Chinese developer. They have difficulties. They already in default, and if Evergrande is internationally in default and does not pay the interest of the international debt, it's very likely that also other developers will go bankrupt and will not pay interest and principal. So so it's very likely that the whole Chinese commercial paper bonds issued to international markets will not be repaid. And this is 580 billion no, dollars, 580 billion dollars will not be paid. And for example, in the times of the Soviet Union in the Cold War, so the Soviet Union just before they crashed, they paid all the debt in the time of the Cold War, and they had. So if China does not pay, or the Chinese companies and the Chinese state are not paying their international debt, it's creating very large international economic problems and could even lead to a war between the US and China. And we see the conflict between Taiwan and US as a consequence of this. And we have seen some talks between the governments of China and the US in October, and I'm very sure they talked about the debt payment situation. And so the problem is if China does not pay the international debt, their international banks like HSBC, they have reported in Q3 that they bought 100 billion US dollar commercial Chinese paper. 100 billion. It's almost full equity of the HSBC bank, And if they cannot recover these from China, and they legally they have no, they cannot, even if they bankrupt, they have no access to assets in mainland China. So, but they lend to these companies $100 billion dollars. Then HSBC will go into bankruptcy, and this has a huge impact in the UK, as you know, and also to the markets, and also other banks, international banks, have some exposure, and so it has a huge impact on the markets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if HSBC go bankrupt, then who is going to launder money for the Mexican drug cartels? You know, that is the so so basically the problem is that Evergrande hold a lot of debt. What was the figure you quoted there earlier? So they have $300 billion potentially in debt. Was that you said? And then
on the balance sheet, you do not see that. It's less, but if you count with off-balance debt, it's reported about that amount.
Okay, so then that could cause a ripple effect that could cause up to $580 billion in debt not to be paid by Chinese companies.
This is all the debt international investors gave to Chinese companies. So this is the worst case scenarios. But it looks like that China does not want that international bondholders being paid in the case of insolvency.
Okay, so would that be because they want to keep, like, say that this is really, really as bad as some people suggest, is because then China want to keep as much money because in China as possible? Or
China itself is so bankrupt now, with the energy crisis, with the supply chains broken, that they cannot afford, even if they want to pay it, they cannot afford, because they have to pay first people in China to prevent any revolution.
Okay, so then my next question is basically, what percentage of that 580 billion is being held by Chinese investors, or by the Chinese Communist Party, or by other companies in China, and what percentage of it is like internationally held? Like so like how
No, this is all internationally held.
All 580 billion.
All, yeah. All international.
Okay, now I get why we're yeah, okay. That's a lot. So when you say China is bankrupt, is that the state have just sort of run out of money, essentially? Are they sort of, is this being caused by like supply chain problems, or printing too much money during the pandemic, or like, yeah, because I haven't seen a headline saying China has no money left. So what do you mean by China is bankrupt? Like, not that the papers would print that, but
so Chinese government bonds, I think it's still being paid, yeah. But if the private sector of China does not pay interest and does not pay principal back, then you could say the private sector in China is bankrupt, and will have consequences for the international markets. Yeah, because if $580 billion are have to be written off by international investors, it has a huge impact and destroy economies in US, Europe, and in Asia. So, but the Chinese problem is not the only problem. So we have Turkey being bankrupt. We have a kind of a hyperinflation now coming soon. So it's not the only thing, but and it's one reason why this time it's not controllable anymore. So it's and this made me to the conclusion that we are on a highway to a meltdown and to a great reset. And the great reset is not what it's a new definition of a great reset. But this might be another podcast theme in the future when the market are crashing. So I want to talk about that, but
Okay.
not right now. It's we have other issues to talk.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually have someone else coming on this week, who is she's an Irish financial investor who is making the case that that is basically going on right now. There is the very very great possibility that might we might be heading for some sort of financial reset, whatever that means. I will find out from her. So the reason that I came across your work, and a lot of people who will be listening to this show, is because of the GameStop story. So how does this tie in your mind, at least, to GameStop and what's currently happening with that wonderful company?
Yes. So I explained that everything is connected. So Evergrande is the first domino to fall. It's already fallen, and the next thing will be a hedge fund crisis. And the hedge fund crisis will arise because the Evergrande or the Chinese bonds are not available anymore. To have solvency capital, to will not be able to be used to get overnight capital from the Fed, and this is one thing that hedge funds are obliged to sell off assets in a kind of a margin call. Yeah. And so this is the connection to AMC, GME. If the margin calls happening, and if the market is crashing, also because of other reasons, not only of Evergrande, there are a lot of other reasons that the market will crash. Then the short squeeze will happen, and this I commented in a lot of posts. But we first have to see the stocks AMC and GME going down a little bit more, and so people should hold the stocks, but should try to get kind of evidence that they own the stock. Yeah, that's very important. And then when the market is crashing more than 25% or even 50%, they should find a good opportunity to realize the gains, because then we have a great risk that the banks or the brokers are going bankrupt and it's not possible to realize the gains. So it's very important. Timing is very important. And what I also recommended is that taking the gains, you should invest into tangible assets like gold, silver, or house, or even food. Yeah. So when the market is crashing, it's not like we have seen with the COVID crash. It's really will not be regain a long time, and we will have a systematic risk, and we have really problems out there.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment for us in the comments below. Let me know what you thought and if you'd like to see more of this from the show. Thank you, and we'll see you again next time.